Hi, I'm Mike Yeo, head coach of the Minnesota Wild. As coaches at any level, the welfare of our players is our top priority. Injuries can and do happen, so we need to be prepared with the knowledge to respond quickly, control the situation, and make the right decisions. The following video is designed to help guide you through some scenarios and keep our players safe. I am proud of our partnership with Minnesota Hockey and Children's Hospitals and Clinics of Minnesota. We thank them for providing coaches with the right tools to keep the game of hockey as safe as possible. Thank you for watching.
As coaches, you're responsible for the safety and security of your players. Nobody likes to see injuries happen in hockey, but it is part of the game over which we have little control. What we can control is how we react to the situation. In the next few minutes, I'd like to provide some basic tools and information on what to do in those first critical seconds after an injury happens. Most hockey injuries occur when a player collides with another player, is checked into the boards, or slides into the end boards.
I think the most common injury is concussions, followed by arm and shoulder injuries or dislocations, as well as knee injuries and ankle injuries.
Many times, you may not even see the collision that causes the injury if it's behind the play. However, when an injury happens, as a coach, you need to take charge of the situation. The referees are not there to handle injuries, so they will simply motion to the bench if it looks serious. If the player is not moving or is down and doesn't appear to be getting up immediately, the coach needs to go out to the player to better assess the situation. Get help from two of your players to get out to the injured player safely. Then clear the area around the injured player. Teammates should either take a knee or head back to the bench.
Try to keep them as calm as possible. The helmet and pads should not be removed, except in the case that there's concern that the patient or player is not breathing.
Once you have safely reached the player, you need to decide if there's a spine, neck, or head injury. If this is the case, 911 needs to be activated immediately. If the player is alert, you can ask him these questions. Where does it hurt? Where are you? What's your name? What are your parents' names? How can I reach them? Never attempt to move a player with a spine or head injury.
They should remain on the ice, and someone should hold their head steady so that they cannot move their head. This protects the neck in case of a spinal cord injury.
If you reach the player and find they are unconscious or bleeding profusely, these are situations when you should call 911 immediately. Also, if a player is experiencing numbness, burning, tingling, or paralysis in more than one arm or leg, call 911. Your first decision is to decide whether the injury is serious enough to call 911 or not. If 911 is activated, there are steps you can take to make the process of extracting the player safer and smoother for the emergency responders. For instance, the closest entrance should be identified and relayed to the 911 dispatcher along with the nature of the injury. Lookouts or guides should be posted near the entrance of the arena to guide the EMTs. Keep in mind that the coaching staff and any trainers or physicians on the scene are in charge until the ambulance arrives. Once you've determined that it's not a head or spine injury and the player is alert, you can continue the dialogue with them about the extent of their injuries.
Okay, but your leg's hurting. Is it starting to hurt more, or is it going away?
Many times players will stay down to try to draw a penalty, or maybe they got the wind knocked out of them. In these cases, they can likely skate off under their own power. If they've injured their ankle or leg, they can be helped off the ice by two teammates. In the case of shoulder or arm injuries, they may need some support, but can usually skate to the bench. In any case, serious injuries need to be examined by trained medical professionals. Occasionally, a player will exhibit symptoms of neurological issues on the bench, such as disorientation, confusion, or dilated pupils. Other players may notice and should be encouraged to let the coaching staff know.
That patient should lie down and his neck should be immobilized until he can receive further medical evaluation.
As coaches, it's likely you have or will encounter players with other medical conditions. Two of the most common are diabetes and exercise-induced asthma. Players with diabetes will typically have a kit they need to have with them at all times. The kit will include a device to check blood sugar levels, but the player may need assistance. Players who have exercise-induced asthma or any form of asthma will experience shortness of breath. It's particularly common with vigorous exercise in the cold air of ice arenas. This condition is easily mitigated with an inhaler that can be prescribed by the player's doctor. Even though the player will want to return to play immediately, doing so too early can make the injury much worse. If there's any doubt, have the player checked out and cleared by their family physician.
Any player that sustains even a minor head injury needs to be evaluated by a physician. They should not return to the game or any practices until they have been cleared as safe to return.
So take charge of any injury situation and help keep the game we all love safe for your players. Let's make every day a great day to play hockey.